Hello, I'm live, and I think my audio might be slightly out of sync. Sorry for that, just kind of doing this. I'm hoping to do some live streams regularly, even if they might be short. And I really don't have much of a plan today. I have a few things I might talk about, but we'll see how things go. So, if anybody's watching, according to the calendar, there's 3 people watching, and I don't know if I count towards that. Normally at this time of night, kids are in bed and my wife's cleaning the house and taking a shower, and normally this is my time to play Doom. I play Doom we usually have an hour before me and my wife watch TV, and I usually spend at least a half an hour of that. We got at least one viewer talking here. I usually spend at least a half an hour of that playing Doom. And so that's the first thing I want to talk about. So, I try to do, sometimes I try to do like a theme for each month, where I go over things on the same topic. And next month, so June, is going to be Doom month on my channel, which I'm sure a lot of my viewers just aren't interested in. But it is something that I've been working on. As I mentioned in the past, I love Doom, the original Doom. And back in the 90s, I played it all the time. I still play it regularly. Back in the 90s, I used to make Doom levels all the time. And didn't really do that for the last 15, 20 years. And I just kind of started picking it up like 6 months ago. And so far, I've done 2 mega wads. I've done 2 full wads with 2 new wads full of levels, 32 levels each. I haven't done anything beyond that, but I've recorded playthroughs of that, and I'm uploading those online, so I'll have some playthroughs on that. And I'm also going to do a series on Eureka Doom Editor, which I did some videos on, or at least one video on, a couple months ago when I first started using it. Well, I actually did a whole series on creating levels with that. So those are sort of things you'll see next month. Someone's asking, what is the best Doom source port? And I really don't know. There's a lot out there with a lot more features. I usually go with PR Boom. When I first started using Linux, that was the first one that I saw that was actually it's PR Boom Plus, which I guess is technically different than PR Boom. And I like it because it's got some newer features like mouse look and stuff, but it's still a lot like a traditional Doom, where there's some ports where it completely changes the game into much more modern stuff. So it depends on what you're looking for. I usually use PR Boom, but it's probably less in the features than a lot of Doom ports are. But it runs on pretty much everything, although I think most Doom ports do. I think I've played around with Vanilla Doom and Chocolate Doom, which are both also very similar to original Doom. But like I said, there's some ports out there that completely change the game, and I watch some YouTube videos of people playing versions of Doom on different ports, and it's completely different, adding new features and stuff like that. As of right now, I still try to play a lot like original Doom, although if you actually ever play Doom like in DOSBox or on an old DOS machine, you realize how much even these simple Doom ports have added to like the mapping system, giving you a lot more information than just some red lines outline of the map. And obviously the mouse look is a big thing, and the resolution. Excuse me, I'm getting over a cold, and I should have brought some cough drops in here with me. Anyway, so yeah, June is going to be Doom month here on my channel, and again, I'll be playing through some levels I made, 32 for each wad, so 64 different levels I made, and those are just going to be one video each. They're like 4 hours long, 2 to 4 hours long, and again, a lot of my viewers probably aren't interested in seeing me play Doom, but I've created these levels, I've uploaded them to websites, and I want to make sure that I play through them, because sometimes I play Doom wads, and I get stuck at a point, so I have to go and look up how somebody plays to figure out how to end the level, because sometimes it can be real tricky, but hopefully my levels are very straightforward. As far as tonight, again, I'm going to be coughing because I am getting over being sick. I have till probably around 9 o'clock, and then I'm going to have to go because me and my wife we just started the 2nd season of Cobra Kai, so we're going to be checking that out. I've already watched it, but my wife hasn't yet. She's going to text me when she's out of the shower. So, as far as what's coming up in the next couple of weeks, I just finished recording some videos on converting, spreadsheets, whether they're Excel spreadsheets, .xls or .xlsx, depending on what version of Excel you are, converting those or open documents, spreadsheets into CSV files. I actually have 3 separate videos on doing that, showing kind of 5 different ways using 3 different pieces of software to convert those to CSV. And then I also have a video on converting CSV to JSON, just to be able to script that all out. I show you how to do it in the GUI interface, but then I also show you at least 3 different ways on converting this stuff from a spreadsheet file to a basic plain text CSV file using your shell, which is useful. Someone's here asking, so Doom is open source and people actually develop for it. That's awesome. Sweep the leg, no mercy. Yeah, Doom, you know, there's still a lot of people making new levels and mods out there. There is a guy, what is his name? I watch him on YouTube. Let me go here real quick to my YouTube subscriptions. Oops, wrong link. There we go. And he, a couple of times a week, he'll play Doom Mod Madness is what he calls his videos. The channel, let's see. I'm going to recommend him because he's doing new videos all the time. And you'll see if you've played original Doom, you can go watch some of his videos and see how different some of these ports are. Doom. Oh, Mr. Icarus. So it's Icarus Live. So it's ICARUSLIV3S. Anyway, just YouTube search Doom Mod Madness, and like I said, this guy posts 1 or 2 videos a week playing different mods, and it's just incredible. I mean, some of the mods, not just ports, but just mods of Doom, are completely new games. Some people have created side scrolls out of them. He played one where the point of the game is you're mowing the lawn, and you crack open a beer, and you're drinking your beer while mowing the lawn, and then the imps start coming in. You got to run them over the lawnmower. It's amazing, some of the things, and just some of the weird things that people obviously put a lot of work into in modding Doom. There's a lot of different games out there, but yeah, Doom. Was the game was open sourced, so it originally came out in '93. I think Doom 2 came out in '95, and by '97, I believe, somewhere around there, id Software, John Carmack, and them open sourced all the code under the GPL license, and that's why you can get it inside your Linux repositories. There's lots of different ports, and that's one of the reasons it runs on everything, because it's open source and can be recompiled for everything. The assets for the game, the levels, the music, the sprites, and the sounds are all still under a copyright. So you'll need a copy of Doom to use the ports, which I have: Doom 1, Doom 2, Final Doom. Actually, my Doom 1 is Ultimate Doom, which has the extra episodes on it. You'll need that, or if you're in your Linux repositories, they'll have the shareware version of the WAD, but there's also FreeDoom, which the whole point of FreeDoom is to redo all the levels and assets that are not free in the original Doom, so you can play a full open source. So it's basically Doom, but with different levels and music and all the art aspect of it. But the source code itself is under a GPL license and has been for over 20 years. Let's see. I'm trying to think of what else to talk about. I had a few things in mind, and now I'm drawing a blank. So someone's here. I really like what you had to say about the GPL. That was a good piece. I'm not sure exactly what video you're talking about, but yeah, the GPL is my personal favorite license. GPL version 3 mostly, but GPL 2 as well. And is my video quality okay? I know my camera's not the best, and I'm recording from a separate microphone. Is there any lag in me talking? I recorded a test video, and it seemed like it was like a quarter of a second to maybe a tenth of a second. My audio was off. I'm going to look into improving that for future live streams. But if anyone can let me know how things are. I also hope that you like where are we looking over here? The little tux. I got that. If you look in the description of this video, there's a link to this model I found today, and I just put it in Blender with my little logo here, films by Chris. So given that guy, it's under a Creative Commons attribute, so I'm attributing him in the yeah, a little blurry. That's just, I don't do much with webcams. If I'm going to video chat or something, I normally use my phone. So I don't want to spend a lot of money on a webcam, and I bought this one. I think I spent $25-30, which to me is a lot for a webcam, and I was hoping it would be a better quality. And I think depending on what piece of software I use and the settings, I can get better results out of it. Right now, I think I have it set to 640 by 480 because when I did the full 1080p, there was a lot of lag and it was kind of jerky. But I've used other pieces of software. I'm using OBS now to stream this, but I've used other pieces of software at the full resolution, and it's worked fine. So I think I might just need to change the compression settings a little bit. Someone here says, back when John Carmack was still in id Software, he made sure that all games became open source up until Doom 3. Yeah, and Doom 3, which came out 10 years after the original Doom, and a game I love, and I've played on Windows when it first came out, and I've played it on Linux because they did port it to that, and I'm surprised that there. I think I've looked it up. There are a few games that use that engine, but I'm surprised that not more have used the Doom 3 engine. Although maybe there's more and I just don't realize it. And let's see. What cloud host do you like for sandbox systems? Not that I've used many. As far as a virtual private server, I've only used one service, which I'm currently running Films by Chris on, which is Vultr. If you go to Films by Chris and you don't have an ad blocker on, there is one little ad on my website. So it's vultr.com. And I've been using them for probably about 2 years now. And you can get your first 2 virtual boxes if you get the lowest end one, which is what I'm running. It's only $2.50 a month. I think that's for a half a gig of RAM and like 20 gigs of storage. And it gives you a full Debian or CentOS or whatever distribution. You can even upload your own images. And that's what I've been using. I've been very happy. I pay $3.50 a month because I pay an extra $1 for automatic backups twice a week. You can manually make your own system backups just with a click of a button. But I pay the extra $1 every month just to have it do an automatic one. So I'm never more than 2 or 3 days. If I completely screw up my server, I can at least kick back to that. So I have no loyalty to them other than that I've been happy. The link on my website, if you go to, again, filmsbychris.com, that should be a link that gives you a code. There were 2 codes that give me credit and give you credit, but there was one for a while that gave you and me both $20 in credit, I think it was, for using that link, which would be awesome because that's almost a year of the service for me. And I've thought about doing a series on setting up a virtual private server through them, just to go through that process. And I should bring it up more because it would really help if people use that link if they needed a virtual private server to help me, with funding my website, since I almost pay nothing for it. Again, I pay $3.50 a month, and that's including the automatic backups. And again, that's $2.50 for your first 2. You can only have 2 of those going at a time, and then once you use up 2 of them, their next package up is $5 a month, and I think you get a gig of RAM, and I forget how much storage. But I've been very happy with them, and I know a lot of VPSs charge a lot more, and there's not a lot of heavy traffic. Like when I check the stats on my website through Vultr, it's like, I think I've been, over an average month, I use about 4% of the CPU allotted to me, so I barely use, and I use it for everything. I used to use a Pogo plug here at home. I recently switched to a Raspberry Pi, just because it's easier to get a more current version of Debian running on that than the Pi, and I can have a monitor for troubleshooting was a little bit nicer. But I'm either using, when I'm out and about, I'm usually logged in through SSH to my server here at home, my Raspberry Pi, which I just put a 4 terabyte drive on, which is nice. Or I'm doing stuff through my website. I'm either SSH'd in, or I've created little web interfaces to do certain things. So it's really nice. But that's who I would recommend, but only because it's the only people I use. Before that, I used HostGator for web service, who I wasn't too happy with. And before that, I used GoDaddy, who I wasn't, that's just who I used back in the day. And those were just web servers. So the only time I've ever used a virtual private server, a VPS, is through Vultr. Licenses are bloat, maybe every so slightly. Hi, think Aya and Sinks. I'm just reading comments now. Someone says they installed Parrot Security OS. It sandboxes everything by default. I'm not familiar with that OS, but talking about sandboxing everything, I'm assuming he means different applications, and I hate that sort of thing personally. Like on an Android device, the way every application is separated from each other, and it's like if you want to be able to interact with two applications interact with each other, it is such a pain in the butt. You can do it, but you gotta jump through all these hoops, and I hate that sort of thing. To me, it's fake security, because you can do it. To me, I'm a user with certain permissions. I should be able to do what that user can do, and if I need any more, I need different privileges. But the whole concept of having applications, the only reason to sandbox applications is because you don't trust them. And like if I'm testing a piece of software I don't trust, yeah, I'll run it in a virtual machine or something like that. But if I don't trust software, I shouldn't be installing it on my machine. There's no reason to sandbox it. And I mean, there are times like you're setting up a server and you want people to log in, you're sandboxing them, but you're more sandboxing the people than you are the software in that case. But the whole software should communicate to each other. I mean, one of the great things about a Unix and Unix type shells, like Bash, is that you can pipe from one program to another and they interact. When it comes to audio, if you're going to get into advanced audio stuff, JACD is a great thing to let all your software plug into each other so they can interact with each other. But then you get to an Android phone and it's just like, oh, I have this program and it's saving files, and to get this other program to even look at the files it's saving, you've got to give it these different permissions, and everything wants different permissions. It's like, if I installed that software, it should be able to do whatever I want it to do that my personal user has permission to do. Anyway, that's my thought on sandboxing applications in that aspect. I'm not sure if that's exactly what this guy's talking about. Do I make any profit from programming? But I understand you are a programmer, or you're a firefighter. I am a firefighter. That's where I make most of my money. I don't really make money programming because all my projects are just for fun. I make a little bit of money here on YouTube, just enough to keep me making videos, not enough to actually pay any bills. Because although I have, and the little bit of money I make is just because I have so many videos. I don't know if any of you saw the live stream I did with Luke Smith last week. We talked about this a bit, where I find it very interesting. I have lots of subscribers, I think close to 50,000. I consider that a lot. But as far as views, like if I look at my statistics for the last month, only 7% of my views are from subscribers. The rest are, I guess, just people coming across my videos. So I have a lot of subscribers, but my view count is kind of low. So that affects your income through YouTube. And I think the only reason I make the little bit of money I make is because I have so many videos. I also assume that a lot of my viewers are probably intelligent people who have ad blockers, just like I do, or don't even use the website. They use something like MPV, like I do, to watch YouTube videos. So I'm not getting any ad revenue, and that's just, the type of people who watch my videos. And I get that. I do the same thing, but I believe that probably brings my numbers down too. It's just my clientele. Thank you for the referral. Containerize all things. I'd like to see you revisit some server videos. I want to get Pixie. Yeah. Pixie. So Pixie, like a network boot type thing. That's something I've read about a lot, and I don't think I've ever really done. And it's something I've been interested in. I would think it'd also be cool. I think you can probably do that with a Raspberry Pi some way. That would be awesome. And it is something I don't have a necessarily need to do, but I can see definitely situations where you want to do that, and I'd like to know, but I just never got around to doing it. You have to have a FTP server set up somewhere that serves up the files, or at least that's one way to do it. And like I said, I've read about it. I've never done it. The only type of like Pixie type boot that I've done is I'm probably saying this wrong. People have told me I said it wrong. Slitaz Linux, which is my favorite lightweight distro. It's a full desktop Linux with a lot of your basic tools, and it's only 30 megabytes, 30 megabyte image compressed. And it has an option to do like a network boot off their server, which is kind of like a Pixie boot, kind of. I mean, you're booting to a CD or a flash drive, but then it's pulling an image from the network. But it's basically the same type of concept. But I think it has boot options to do that. And that's the closest I've done to actually doing something like that. But I've talked to people who have done it, and they say it's real simple once you get your little FTP server set up. Home versus security version. Security version is the one that sandboxes everything. Base distro. I confess I use YouTube. Yeah, someone's saying on Android they use an application called Vanced. I use NewPipe is the one that I use on YouTube or on Android. It's in F-Droid. So F-Droid, if you're not familiar with it, is a package manager for Android. That all the software in there is open source, and it's really good about telling you, like when you install NewPipe, it will tell you, warning, there might be, I think they call them anti-features, and so I'm pretty sure NewPipe is under a GPL license. It's a free application. You can't find it in the Google Play Store because it violates YouTube's terms, because it actually scrapes the pages, so you don't need to log into your account or anything. You search a video, it scrapes it, pulls it, and you have options to download the video, download the audio. It asks, which file, when it comes to audio and video, do you want to download, how many threads you want to use. It's a great little program, and I'm assuming this Vanced, YouTube Vanced, is a similar application. Yeah, and there's no ads on it. It's kind of a pain when YouTube makes changes to their website. Something like YouTube DL, which I also have on my phone using Termux. YouTube DL, if YouTube makes a change within 24 hours, they usually have an updated version of the application that fixes that. Sometimes NewPipe takes a couple of days, so you might have to end up watching some videos in the browser if YouTube makes a change, which they probably do like 2 or 3 times a year, it feels like. Yeah, so I'm the same way. Yeah, someone else saying NewPipe is super cool. I know there's another one that I installed on my wife's phone from F-Droid. I forget what it was called, but it's uses YouTube but for music. So it just will search music and stream the audio files for you. Some of the Raspberry does. Berry Boot. F-Droid is nice too. Yeah, F-Droid is nice. And like I said, a lot of the applications, or I won't say a lot, there's a handful. Some of the applications in F-Droid are also in the Google Play Store, but certain things like NewPipe, since it violates YouTube terms, can't be in the Google Play Store, which is a shame. And then things like Termux, which is a great terminal application for Android that's free and open source, and it's in F-Droid and it's in the Android store too, but you have to be careful because it has some add-ons, and the add-ons will be in F-Droid and Google Play Store, but if you install Termux using F-Droid and then install the add-ons from the Google Play Store or the other way around, they don't work. You got to install them from the same source. I learned that the hard way. So I try to install everything through F-Droid, but I also have, besides a few of the Google applications that came on the phone, I have less than 10 applications, 10 apps on my phone, all from F-Droid. They're all free and open source, or at least open source. How do you feel about Ubuntu? My gears kind of here, Ubuntu based, but we all know it's Debian based. So someone's asking how I feel about Ubuntu. I really have nothing against any Linux distribution. When I first switched to Linux back in 2006, for the first year or two, every other week I was switching a distro, trying all these different distros, and somewhere around there I ended up using Ubuntu for like a month, and it was actually not at the beginning. I think it was a little bit later, maybe even like a year and a half after I started using Linux. I tried using Ubuntu and I hated it. But the reason I hated it, and it's the one thing that I can really complain about Ubuntu, and when people, I'm not a big fan of Ubuntu for certain reasons, which I'll talk about in a second, but when people complain about it, again, for those of you just getting here, I'm getting over being sick, so I apologize for any coughing I do. people complain about Ubuntu so much, I feel bad for them. But my issue with Ubuntu at the time was Pulse Audio had just started becoming a thing. So I don't remember, this is 2007, 2008 probably, and I'm just ballparking. And I like Pulse Audio now. I think it's a great application. I run it on my machine. It was not ready for prime time back when Ubuntu started using it. You start watching a YouTube video, that YouTube video finishes, you have no sound on your system. I would have to log out and log back in. At least back then I probably could have restarted Pulse Audio, but I probably didn't know how to do that back then. But it just crashed all the time. All the time. And that's one of my things about Ubuntu that I don't like. That's the one thing I can really say. You know, with the whole, they had their whole, I can't remember what they call their interface, Unity interface. I've seen pictures of it. I liked some ideas that they had there. Kind of like, I know that with it, when you're in a program, there was some shortcut key that you can then search through all the menus in that application, which I think is a great idea, because I hate drop-down menus or pop-up menus. I like hit a key, search for what you want. I love that sort of thing. But I never really used that interface much. But Ubuntu likes to make things default before they're ready. And that's how I feel like when I was reading about people complaining about Unity, there were all these things that didn't work, or these features weren't available yet. And that's great that they're pushing forward technologies, whether you like them or not. Technologies need to be pushed forward sometimes. But to make something the default on a system, especially a system that's kind of geared towards newer people, that isn't ready, that's going to crash all the time, like when they first started using Pulse Audio, it just wasn't ready. And it would be great if they had, like, you know, an experimental version that people would test it out, you know, but they had it on their main version, Pulse Audio, and it was crashing all the time. All the time. I mean, you couldn't, like I said, anytime you watched the YouTube video, it would crash. And there were certain applications, you start them up, Pulse Audio would crash, and you would just have no sound until you restarted the sound server, and it was a pain in the butt. And I feel like Ubuntu does that a lot. Again, it's a good thing in the way that it's pushed forward technology, but it shouldn't be the default on what's supposed to be a stable system. And that's one of the things I like about Debian, is that they have a stable testing and an unstable testing and stable distributions. And I mean, and on my desktop, I run Debian SID, which is Debian Unstable, and I have for years. And I never really have any problems besides NVIDIA drivers. Anytime there's an NVIDIA driver update, I know that if I restart my machine, I'm going to have to fix that, which I've gotten good at. But that's just an NVIDIA driver thing. But as far as Ubuntu goes, I don't really have anything against them. It wouldn't be my first choice. But then again, a lot of distros are my choice. I like Debian because I can just I do the net install, and I do a basic install, and I install what I want, and I kind of build up. Certain distributions are nice when it comes to having a live CD, you know, on a USB stick. Like, I like having Linux Mint just because it's easy. You plug it in and it's ready to go. But I see a lot of these distributions, and I'm just kind of like, I'm over the whole distribution thing. Like you said, Ubuntu is Debian based, and you know, you have your few distributions that everything is based on, and it really doesn't matter as long as the package, you know, their repositories are good and it has the applications I want. I care very little what distribution it is. I like Debian because they probably have the most robust official repositories. I know there's other distributions out there that have like community repositories. I don't trust that sort of thing. That's why I stick with Debian. But I have nothing against that if someone else wants to use those different distros. I also, it kind of makes me think of like screenshots. Like, people post, this is what my desktop looks like. And besides having like a cool Conky, you know, display on their desktop, when I look at these, I'm just like, you're just showing me your wallpaper. What desktop you're running doesn't really matter. When people post these pictures of how fancy their desktop looks, it's usually just, it's 99%, this is a cool wallpaper I picked out. And I just find it weird that people get all like, oh, look how cool this looks, when it's just like a screenshot of their wallpaper. Anyway, install, I'm just reading comments. If you grab, it will install any distro right in Termux. Only thing, no root. You get a chance to go through. So they're talking about using NLinux or ANLinux, and you can run that in Termux. And the thing about Termux is Termux has pretty much all the tools I need, because 99% of what I do on my desktop is stuff in the shell, which is all your core tools, which Termux has, which really anything that has BusyBox on it has most of the tools I need, and a good web browser. And I have both those on my Android device. With Termux, you can also install Python. And of course, if I had, so AN Linux, it sounds like you don't need to install root to get into it. In the past, I've had Debian. I mean, it's very easy to make a ARM Debian image and then chroot into it. But I don't even have a need for that because, again, Termux has most tools I need. But the AN Linux sounds cool if you need it. You can add your own repos to F-Droid to distribute your apps. F-Droid is also an app called Yelp Store, where you can download apps from the Play Store without having a Google account. Okay, so if I'm reading that correctly, he says you can add your own repos, so I guess if you want to host your own applications for other people, they can add your repositories, which I would say only do if you truly trust that. It's kind of like adding the, what I call them, PPAs on Ubuntu and stuff. I'd never do that. I would never do that. Because if it's not in the official repositories, then it's going to be hard for me to trust it, and I would go directly to the developer to get it. But that'd be cool. I mean, if you're running a company, a business, and you're a system maintainer, and you're creating applications for in-house, that'd be a good way for people to pull it. But he's also talking, so F-Droid is also an app. It says is also an app called app, but I'm assuming Yelp Store, YALP. I'm assuming he's saying that you can find this app in F-Droid and allows you to install stuff from the Google Play Store without having a Google account, which is cool. That's cool if you wanted something from the Google Play Store. I personally don't trust most things from Google Play Store. I also don't trust most things from F-Droid, but I trust them more than I do the Google Play Store. Let's see. So they're still talking about the Vance YouTube player, modded version of YouTube. Open source mirror of Google Play services allows you to log into YouTube account and watch YouTube videos with ad block. Okay, so yeah, I'll look into that. Drop Unity. They dropped Unity when they went to GDM3 because everyone halted it. I don't understand why everyone has a hard-on for Pop OS lately. Everyone is making Pop videos. I've heard people talking about Pop too, which is confusing because I don't know how many of you have been around for like 10 years, but remember I made the video game Pop, which is still up on GitLab and GitHub. I really should make more levels for it because I only made like 2 and it should be easy to do. It's a Blender-based game, which ended up being a headache in the end. Long story. I'm not going to get into that. But yeah, it's like, I get picking distributions like that. Like, if you're carrying, like, I carry a flash drive on my keychain, a little tiny one, with the regular USB on one side and the USB-C on the other, so I can plug it into my phone to copy files. And I have Grub installed on here, and I multi-boot some ISOs. I have Linux Mint, Slittaz Linux, Greml, if that's how you say it, the GRML, which is Debian-based. Which, if you're doing if you're hardcore Linux and you want a good distribution that's lightweight but has a lot of functionality and is basically Debian with a lot of cool features, check out Greml Linux. It's pretty awesome. So I have like 4 different distributions I boot on here, and like the Linux Mint one is just like, I want to get into the system, or I want to show somebody what Linux looks like, and it's like I get having that, but it's like to install my system again. I use Greml to do a network boot, so I don't even have to download the Debian network image, and I just have Greml. I boot that up and just run, whatever their network command is, and it just pulls everything down for me. I've got like 5 more minutes, so let's get this going. Someone wrote 3D Cube, the desktop. Yeah, I used to love Compiz, if that's how you say it. Right now, I don't have any type of what do you call them? Composition managers. I'm just using i3. I miss wobbly windows, and the cube was pretty cool. But as far as functionality, tiling window managers is good for me. But yeah, the 3D cube, when shortly after I started using Linux, that kind of came out, and it was just awesome. And it was amazing because I'd go to these machines that were, if you look back on some of my old videos, I did a video for people at work because we had gotten a new IT guy. This is probably in '09 actually, because it was just before, just after I tore my bicep. And at work they were replacing all our old computers. And my argument to that was the computers we have are actually pretty good. It's just the fact that we're running Windows, which at the time I think we were still running Windows XP. And I was just like, so I popped in, whatever version of Linux on a flash drive, booted on one of these systems, and filmed this 3D cube flipping around, the windows flying off, and all this stuff. It's like, these computers are fine. Our IT guys just don't know what they're doing, was my argument. But yeah, I like a lot of that flashy stuff, but then again, sometimes it's just distracting, especially the wobbly windows, because you can just sit there and wobble them all day long. Hi, someone says hi to me. So again, I'm going to read through these last few comments, maybe answer one more question, then I got to get going. But again, I hope to do more of these live streams. So let's see. I'm sure your values as a programmer is over around, yeah. So someone's saying that they think as a programmer I can make around $100,000 a year. I have friends who work in computer stuff, computer areas in different states, and told me, hey, if you move here, I can get you a job paying you good. And you know what? I'm well past my halfway point in my career as a firefighter. I've got 10 years till I'm allowed to retire, and I don't need a lot of money. And I love computers, and I want to keep them a hobby, because doing them as a job would make me hate them. Sorry, I had to hit the last message. I know you from high school. Roger Scott. Did you graduate the same year as me? We got our 20-year reunion coming up. Maybe I'll see you there, Roger Scott. I think we're all guilty of having keychains like yours. I am, before I could make Grub, I was using, you were using Yummy Multi-Boot. Yeah, I used to use UNetBootin. I've done videos on this where I'd install one and then I'd rename the files and install another and rename the files and adjust the config file. And then years ago, I did the whole ISO, because Grub 2 came out and it was able to boot from an ISO file as long as the distribution supported it. And so I did install that, and all I have to do now is I upgraded the Linux mint on it. All I had to do was rename the old ISO and copy the new ISO over, and it was ready to go. So Roger Scott says, I'm an old friend, and he says karate. So I know you from karate, Roger Scott, 1998. Is your name actually Roger Scott? On Long Island. You're good for... Oh, okay. He confused me because he's saying he knew me back in the day, and then he said Long Island, which I'm from Long Island. I'm originally from Douglaston, Long Island. Mike V? As in my old roommate Mike V? I know there's a lag on the video, so he's not hearing me say that yet. I'm trying to think if I know more than one Mike V. Or do I know you through Mike V? Now I wish... Okay, so that is you. You are Mike V? Because if you are, I wish I could stay here and talk to you. But I have to get going. Okay. Anyway, Mike V. Okay. Anyway, I do have to get going. Oh, no, you're not Mike V. Okay. Well, Roger Scott, I hope I talk to you soon and I figure out who you are. But I have to get going. Chris, just with a K. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. I'm reading comments and you guys are watching me read comments. That's just kind of weird. Anyway, I have to get going. I hope to do more live videos soon. I hope you all have a great day. Visit the website. Again, if you guys missed it, there is a link on my website if you don't have ad blockers. It's the only ad on the site for Vultr. That's who I use for my website, since someone asked earlier. Check it out. It should get you a credit and give me a credit, and that would be helpful. If it doesn't work, let me know, and I'll get you guys a link. Have a great day. Or night, depending on where you are.